Lisa. I have a regular layout for you today with a sketch. This one is a 2-photo sketch. I have one 4x6, and this one I'm actually only doing the 3x5 version of it, but I could mat it or leave it the full size. I don't know. Anyway, and then our journaling. And what's going to be really cool about this one is this pattern down here at the bottom. So if you're doing this on your own, you could put pattern paper down here, or you can do some stenciling like I'm going to do, and we're going to have some misting or some droplets probably of mist along the top. Now, where the plan for this came from, this is a beach-oriented page. Hilton Head Island has a wonderful, wonderful beach. But there's one thing it's not, and that's a great shelling beach, normally. But we were down there in September of this year, and there were been a lot of storms and stuff and things going on out in the Atlantic, and I don't know if that's why so many wonderful shells washed up one day, but we were behind this other couple and they were picking up shells, and we found a lot too, and it was just great. We just don't normally get those down there. So I wanted to do a layout about that. I just did this art journal page the other day where I used this stencil that I had wanted from a cherry on top for the longest time. I finally got it months ago and still didn't do anything with it, but I put it in this art journal page, and I really love how this came out. Now, the background of this is jelly printing. I'm going to do my background with some, decided to try some designer paper. I normally use cardstock, but we're going to see how this goes with designer paper. And the pearl paints from Martha Stewart. These are some of my favorite paints. They are just gorgeous, gorgeous colors. They're less than $3 a bottle for these, and they're really beautiful. I don't really need this many colors. I think this green is out. I used these 3 colors on my art journal page. I may put a little bit of this in there. It goes with my husband's shirt, and it goes with some things that I'm looking potentially for embellishments. So we'll talk about embellishments a little bit later on. Right now, I'm going to trim off the branding strip down here and go ahead and get this ready to start doing some stenciling on the bottom. So we need to get that on first. So to get started on the stenciling, I'm going to secure the stencil and the paper down with some washi. Get out some of my paint colors. I'm going to be working with the darkest color, the purple, over to the lightest, light blue. I like to use a stiff bristle brush. And kind of a light hand in terms of the amount of paint. And then I'm just sort of blending, kind of going from one color to another. I'll put a note on the screen as to what this background paper is. It's a company I had not used before. The papers are really good for weddings. I bought them to do a project for my Etsy shop. And then I had a little bit left here. They're a nice quality paper. Now, the biggest challenge with this was matching up, trying to figure out how to match that stencil and seam it. When I did this in my art journal, it matched right about where the middle of the journal was, so it didn't show that much. But here you can see it shows. I didn't do the best job matching it up. It wasn't designed to really continue as far as I could tell. And my colors, as I was blending the colors, I didn't do such a hot job there either. However, we can fix that. You know, we can cover that a couple of different ways. One thing I could do, the easiest thing, is just to flip the photos, because right now the sketch is designed for the landscape photo to go on the right and the portrait on the left, but I could just switch them around, and the portrait photo would then cover a fair amount of that area where it's seamed, but there's nothing to go under that portrait photo on the sketch. So I think I'm going to stick to the original plan where there's titling and embellishments and things that go under that one photo. And now we're ready to do a little bit of misting. It's actually going to be droplets of mists. This first one is from Angels. I have very little of this left. I don't even think there's enough left in the bottle to spray anything, but I can drop some mists on there. I think it's called Glacier. It's an old color from Tattered Angels. And then this is a homemade mist. It's Baja Breeze ink refill from Stampin' Up, water, and Perfect Pearls. So I wanted it to look sort of like spray from the ocean. Although it doesn't really spray that much down Hilton Head. There's no rocks for the water to hit or anything, but we still get that sort of same kind of effect, and it's really pretty. Alright, so we're going to start playing around with putting some things on here besides the photos, and I pulled out a ton of embellishments. I just went through my drawer. Those two little things are from, they're the little things you buy to go in the bottom of a glass vase when you do a flower arrangement, but they were a little too thick. So then I looked for buttons, and I found some of those, and then I just looked at a lot of other things that I had in my stash. Some metal pieces. I like those rhinestones there. I may use those. I like this white wood veneer from Prima. I like the white better than the natural color for this layout. The trim is some from Hobby Lobby, and I thought it had a nautical kind of look to it. Spent a lot of time looking at these wood pieces. Those first two I'm not sure where they're from. The others are Hobby Lobby pieces from back in their regular crafting area. I didn't end up using any of them. And I decided for lettering that I didn't really like the looks of that raw chipboard letters. What I'm going to use instead is some basic gray chipboard. I need the word seashells, so it's something with a lot of E's and S's and L's and very commonly used letters, and the basic gray chipboard has a lot of those. I've been using the silhouette a lot. I'm doing a new class with it, and so you'll be seeing me use that some too on my layouts. I'm finding I really like it because I don't have to worry about how many letters I have of a particular item. But I just needed the one word, so I thought I'd go ahead, and this is a pretty color, and I thought I would go ahead with it. It also gives me that added texture of chipboard. And one other thing I feel like I need down here is some trim. So I went through all my trim jars, and I have a lot of trim from back when I used to do a lot of cards. I don't do that many cards anymore. I still have a fair amount of trim, but I like trim on these pages where I have a lot of texture because it's just yet another texture. I've got some velvet, I've got some silky trim, some lace. I pulled out all kinds of different things. I really liked that one trim I had just a tiny little bit of, but the color was that greenish color. It just didn't end up quite going, so it kind of got put to the side. So finally I decided I had plenty of stuff. It's time to start gluing some things down and making some final decisions. I left the craft mat under this from where I was doing the stenciling, and it threw me off a little bit because I didn't have my lines for my grid map, so some things are not as straight as they might normally be. That's okay with me. It's a little more casual layout. But the grid lines, even though you can't see them through the whole paper, they just help me visualize and keep things straight. And I do have a basic gray grid mat. I don't use it that much anymore. It's a great tool. It just kind of depends. If I'm doing some type of gridded layouts, like a 3x3 grid or something, then it's really helpful. But some things, it's just a little more to fuss with than I want. Like that heart over there by my husband's face. And again, I'm still considering the wood pieces, and I finally decided to use the one with the word believe on it. It kind of goes with all the rest of the stuff. So then it's really just a matter of gluing everything down. I do want to use something over on the left, but I think that'll end up being a sticker. I'm going to use some Tombow adhesive for some of the heavier embellishments. And for the button, I used some glue dots, and I really figured I would have to hot glue it on, but it's staying on there really good with the glue dot. was kind of surprised. One of the last things I do with my layouts is I put them up on a little shelf in my craft space, and so they're sitting upright. If the embellishments can stay on there sitting upright, they will stay on there when they're in the album. It's kind of the final test. And I needed a little bit more stuff, so I went to those rhinestones. I think those were K & Company. They went with a particular collection, but I loved them because there was some purple, and it's hard to find purple in scrapbooking. And then the journaling, I'm just handwriting it over the words. I can see the influence of art journaling on these pages, not worrying so much about whether things are straight, handwriting stuff. That's typically not me, but it's really coming through here. You know, when you do one craft, it sort of transitions into another. So we'll just put a sticker on to identify the location and the date, and then we'll take a look at our final page. So let's take a look at our finished page. Now I did move the title up here, but I kept my journaling up there as well. Instead of the washi tape, I used the metal clip, and still got some decorative items here, the pretty design around the back. Some of that got covered up, but I still got to see quite a bit of it coming around here. And then we added a few additional little embellishments, hand wrote the journaling. Really pleased with this, and once the background was done, the rest of it went really fast, and I got to use a lot of cool stuff too, things that I've had and I've used some of, but I haven't really used a whole lot of them, and so I wanted to use those and got back into some of my chipboard letters there too. So thank you so much for watching today. Getting back to doing these videos. I've been working on a class, and so that's moved along quite a ways, and I'm ready to get back to my regular videos, and I'm very happy to be doing that. It was kind of a good break to do some art journaling and some other things, but now we're back to doing lots of regular videos, so look forward to those, and to sketches, and as I prepare to get the 2015 sketchbook ready. I know some of you have already asked about that, and I do plan to do that again this year with all of the sketches linked to their videos, and so they'll be organized by the number of sketches and that kind of thing. And if there's a particular kind of page that you do, whether it's 2 photo or 3 photo or 2-page spreads, or you want to use up some of your Project Life stuff or whatever, or stickers, or whatever it is you would like to see sketches to include, let me know, because I've got probably about 8 or 10 more that I'm going to do for the rest of the year, probably say at least 8 more, and I have some ideas of what I want to do, but I'm open to suggestions. So if there's things you'd like to see included in some of the sketches, just let me know, and maybe I can get those worked in there. Thank you so much. Bye.